How's it going, everybody? Too Spooky here. With today's video, I'm actually going to be starting a reoccurring series of sorts, where we go over different specific Hatsu or Nen abilities. I cannot promise that this series will be super regular or anything like that because my upload schedule is a bit whack at the moment, but there's quite a few Nen abilities I want to talk about, so you can expect to see more of these over time. Before we get started, I should warn you that Nen is a very complex subject with many different factors playing into it. So for you guys to truly understand what we're talking about in this video, I highly suggest you watch my video explaining Nen beforehand. We go over everything from the basics of Nen to the more advanced stuff, so touching up on the information beforehand will be a massive help. You can find a link to that video in the description. Now without further ado, in this video we're going to be talking about Kurapika's many different Nen abilities. And by the way, I butcher his name pretty much every time I try and say it, so just a forewarning. Anyways, to begin, it should be known that Kurapika is a conjurer, but due to his extraordinary skills with Nen and while developing his abilities, he's also been able to use emission, manipulation, and enhancement abilities within his own Hatsu efficiently. In addition to that, when Kurapika's eyes turn scarlet, he can temporarily become a specialist until they turn back to normal. As a specialist, Kurapika is able to use each aura type at 100% efficiency, meaning that even though we have yet to see him use a transmutation ability, when his eyes are scarlet, it would be very easy and possible for him to use some sort of transmutation technique, which means that Kurapika is one of the few Nen users who are able to use all 6 aura types effectively. When it comes to his actual Nen ability, it's pretty unique among conjurers. Kurapika conjures up 5 different chains, one for each finger on his right hand, and each of these 5 chains comes with its own unique ability or abilities. It should also be noted that some of these chains were created with specific limitations to greatly enhance their effectiveness, but we'll touch on those in a second. Before we get to each individual chain, we must first go over Emperor Time. Emperor Time can only be activated once Kurapika's eyes turn scarlet. When Emperor Time is activated, Kurapika turns into a specialist, which, unique to him, allows him to use each aura type with 100% efficiency, meaning that a category like emission, which is normally very difficult for a conjurer like Kurapika to use, would now be as easy for him to use as a conjuration ability, and this goes for all 6 of the aura types. It should also be noted that a common misconception with Emperor Time is that it is automatically activated whenever his eyes turn scarlet. This actually isn't completely true. Instead, it is simply a requirement for his eyes to be scarlet, and when they are scarlet, Kurapika can choose whether or not he actually wants to activate Emperor Time. However, we haven't seen many instances of his eyes going scarlet without Emperor Time also being activated, which is where this confusion comes from. Emperor Time may also seem like a very overpowered ability, especially with some of the things Kurapika is able to pull off with Emperor Time, and for a while it was extremely overpowered, until we somewhat recently found out about its limitation. For every second that Emperor Time is active, Kurapika loses 1 hour of his life. So to put that into perspective, using Emperor Time for a whole hour is equivalent to losing 150 days of his own life. So with great power also comes a hefty drawback. When it comes to the chains and their respective abilities, the first chain is called Judgement Chain, which comes from the chain on his pinky finger. The Judgement Chain is considered a conjuration, emission, and manipulation ability, and can only be activated while Emperor Time is active. It is shaped like a small blade, and when used it enters an individual's body and wraps around their heart. Kurapika then gives that individual 2 limitations or conditions that they must now follow, and if they break those conditions, the dagger will enter their heart and kill them instantly. Kurapika was originally going to use the Judgement Chain on himself with the condition that he can never attack anyone who isn't a member of the Phantom Troop, which, because the spiders are such a small organization, this limitation would greatly enhance his power, and also keep his quest for revenge on track. But then Kurapika thought that perhaps by using the chain on himself, it would be considered attacking himself and therefore break the condition, killing him. So he ended up deciding against those conditions, but instead, he used Judgement Chain on himself with the condition that he cannot use his ability Chain Jail on anyone except a member of the Phantom Troop. But we'll get to that that one in a little bit here. The second chain is called the Dowsing Chain, which comes from the chain on his ring finger. The Dowsing Chain is considered just a conjuration ability. This chain doesn't feature any specific limitations, and is used for a variety of different detection abilities. It is shaped similar to a normal ball and chain, and it can be used for combat purposes like whacking people in the face, but it's generally used for its intended purpose. The two main abilities we've seen Kurapika use Dowsing Chain for is detection in one way or another. On one hand, if Kurapika is trying to find something like a missing person or object, the ball on the end of the chain will move in the direction of the missing thing until Kurapika is eventually able to determine its location. On the other hand, this chain is also able to detect if people are lying. Kurapika is able to do this by holding the chain directly in front of a single person or group. He can then ask the individual any questions he wishes, and if they lie, the chain will detect that lie by moving back and forth. If they are telling the truth, it will remain still. This ability is a bit difficult to use in a group setting, because if multiple people are talking at once, the Dowsing Chain cannot accurately detect who is lying or if anyone is lying at all. So in group settings, it's important for the individuals to speak one at a time. The Dowsing Chain's ability can also be greatly enhanced with Emperor Time. We haven't seen fully to what extent, but from what we did see, Kurapika was also able to use the lie detector ability to check if a person was lying even through a video recording. The only requirement for this to work was that Kurapika had to have met the person in the recording previously. With that in mind, I think it's also safe to assume that with Emperor Time active, Kurapika would also be able to effortlessly check an entire group for lies even if each person were speaking at the same time. But that of course is just an assumption. The third chain is called Chain Jail, which comes from the chain on his middle finger. Chain Jail is also considered just a conjuration ability. Chain Jail can only be activated against members of the Phantom Troop like we stated earlier, and Kurapika made this limitation by using Judgement Chain on himself with the condition that he will die if he breaks that rule. Chain Jail is shaped like a hook, and its sole purpose is to restrain spiders. When it's wrapped around a member of the troop, it forcefully places them in a state of Zetsu so they cannot use any Nen, and it also forces their muscles to relax and cooperate. It's also possible for this particular chain to extend a great distance in only a matter of seconds due to its extra power from the limitation. The only possible way to escape these chains is through brute force, but as we saw with Uvo, who was the physically strongest member of the Phantom Troop, he was unable to break free. This means that no matter how strong the individual may be, as long as they are a member of the Phantom Troop, it's basically impossible to break free once wrapped up in Chain Jail. The fourth chain is called Steel Chain, which comes from the chain on his pointer finger. The Steel Chain is also considered just a conjuration ability. This chain was revealed not too long ago in the manga, and appearance-wise, it looks like a normal syringe. We haven't been informed if there are any conditions for activation, but when activated, Steel Chain will pierce a victim, drain them of their aura, and then temporarily steal one of the victim's Hatsu abilities. The abilities of the victim do not need to be known beforehand, and only one ability can be stolen at a time. If the Steel Chain continues to drain the victim's aura, they can also be forced into a Zetsu state similar to Chain Jail, but a lot more painfully. Kurapika can then use the stolen ability, but he can only use it once, and it will not return to its original wielder until the ability is used. Kurapika is also able to hang on to that individual's ability even after that individual's death. Steel Chain also has an upgraded or additional ability called Stealth Dolphin. If not directly from Steel Chain, at the very least this ability also comes from the pointer finger. Stealth Dolphin can only be activated when Emperor Time is active, and it is considered a specialist ability. The dolphin itself looks like a floral patterned dolphin that's also similar to a plane with a syringe on each flipper. Stealth Dolphin is able to equip and analyze the ability that was stolen from Steel Chain, which will inform Kurapika of the ability's name, its functions, and any conditions that come along with it. This mainly comes in handy if Kurapika isn't aware of the functions of an ability that he stole ahead of time. After the analysis, Kurapika can then choose to use this stolen ability himself, or essentially gift it to another person. The person in question also doesn't need to know anything about Nen or how to use it to receive and use this stolen ability, because once the ability is given to that person, an earpiece device of some sort will be conjured up on their ear, which will allow the dolphin to explain the ability and how to use it to that person telepathically. This dolphin is also only visible to Kurapika and the person who was given the stolen ability. Just like the regular steel chain, the stolen ability can only be used once, and as a little bit of a downfall, Emperor Time will remain active until all stolen abilities are returned. Like I said earlier, Steel Chain can only steal one ability at a time, but if Kurapika transfers the stolen ability to someone else, he is then able to steal another ability for himself once again with Steel Chain. As far as we know right now, he is only able to steal a maximum of 2 abilities at a time, so long as one of the 2 was transferred to somebody else beforehand. Stealth Dolphin will also frequently remind Kurapika how long Emperor Time has been active, unless Kurapika tells the dolphin to remain on standby. And the final chain is called Holy Chain, which comes from the chain on his thumb. The Holy Chain is also considered a conjuration and enhancement ability. The Holy Chain is shaped like a cross, respectively, and its ability is pretty straightforward. It basically uses enhancement techniques to heal wounds when the cross is placed on them. However, while using Emperor Time, Holy Chain is upgraded to the point where it can heal massive injuries such as a shattered arm in only a few seconds. The only thing left to add about Kurapika's Nen abilities is that repeated and extended use of Emperor Time will also put a large tax on Kurapika's mental and physical state, which will render him bedridden for multiple days. So on top of getting his life sapped away every second, he also has to deal with a recovery period. And in addition to that, Kurapika can only use Emperor Time for a maximum of 3 hours at a time. After using the ability for 3 straight hours, Kurapika will then pass out and remain in an incapacitated state for 9 hours. So no matter how long he uses Emperor Time for, it appears Kurapika will then need to rest for triple the amount of time he was using the ability. But that does it for Kurapika's Nen abilities. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and gained a better understanding of how his abilities work. If you did, be sure to drop a like, and I would really appreciate it if you did. Be sure to comment down below which Nen ability you would like to learn about next, because there will be more of these videos on the way, and also make sure to subscribe with those notifications on so you can be notified when those videos come out. Be sure to follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with the channel, and if you cannot get enough too spooky content, well, be sure to click here for an explanation of Nen if you decided to wait on watching it earlier. Or feel free to click here for 5 facts about Gon or 10 facts about Kurapika himself. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you all soon in the next video.